Hey everyone, welcome to this deeper dive into the topics we're going to be covering on Block Party number 160 this Friday, January 5th. Let's start with the high-level big picture. The high-level big picture is we don't know how much time we have left as a species, as a planet, as abundant life on Earth. It may be on the order of a year, give or take. Before we're just, Thelma and Louise over the edge of the cliff. We're still a couple few hundred yards shy of the edge of the cliff, so Thelma and Louise could, Mark, I'm going to mute you because you're making all kinds of, because Thelma and Louise, we're still within the time period when they could slam on the brakes and not go over the edge of the cliff. They're kind of having the conversation. Do we keep going or do we stop and get arrested or whatever? So that's the context. And what's obvious to you and me, and just unmute yourself whenever you want, Marco. But it's obvious to you and me and a bunch of other people that collective human intelligence evolving towards collective human superintelligence, or CHISI, just look at the acronym that's emerging from that. Let me just draw it on the whiteboard here. So collective human super, and usually superintelligence is spelled as one word, but the acronym emerging here is CHSI, which we pronounce CHISI. All right. Okay. So we're going CHISI. CHISI is the only way that we see, combined with a bunch of other stuff. So we're just saying CHISI is vital. It's not the only thing that we need, but it is absolutely vital. And so how are we going to get there? And this is really the main question that we're grappling with on the Block Party, is how do we achieve CHISI, collective human superintelligence? How do we do it? How do we get there, right? One of the ways that we know that we don't get there is through ego, right? And through, somebody having a great idea and saying, hey, everybody, let's do this, right? That's an invitation for character assassinations and for people to avoid you, basically. So how do we do this in such a way that everyone, the ideal is that everyone, basically thinks up the idea themselves, right? And then we all make it happen. So one of the ways to avoid ego is to make sure that it's not on any one given platform. Like, it's not going to happen on the Block Party. We're already at peace with that. It's not going to happen. Twitter is not going to become it. Nor is Facebook, nor is Gather, nor are myriad, platforms, Rumble, you name it. So platforms, forget it. But so it's got to be, so one way to ditch platforms, but still use all these great functionality, is to do something cross-platform, something that's totally decentralized and can be manifested on any platform you want, because people use platforms. That's how they communicate with each other. So what Mike and I were talking about earlier was that, just consider, for example, that somebody who wants to include so the basic model is this. There's millions of conversations happening all over the internet and in the real world and all that. Actually, probably hundreds of millions if you add up online and physical world. There's hundreds of millions of conversations happening at any given time. And how do we, in a way, herd these cats into a chizzy, into a collective human superintelligence, right? Because right now they're all fragmented, right? The ones that aren't fragmented are, for example, the ones that happen in, large organizations, because you got all these conversations that are happening and they kind of loosely know about each other, or some of them are very well known and blah, blah, blah. But how do we get the world's conversations, particularly those that are about saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth? How do we get those to come together? How do we herd those cats, right, in a way that's totally decentralized? Because we got to get the ego out of it, right? And one way that occurs to me is that every conversation. Okay, so again, let's just assume for a moment, let's dream for a moment and assume that this meme is going to get out there and proliferate, this meme of Chizzy. Hey, CHSI, Collective Human Superintelligence. What would be a way in which a bunch, millions of conversations could come together under that meme, but without being under anyone's tent or anyone's platform or anyone's thumb or whatever? Because as we talked about, ego is not the way there. And so how do we do that? So what occurred to me is, what if people started using hashtags? Because nobody can own or control a hashtag. And so imagine hashtag Chizzy, hashtag CH, SI, right? If you want to basically cross this invisible barrier into this new paradigm of collective human superintelligence, you take whatever meetings you have or are scheduling or whatever, and you blast them out with that hashtag. Note, I didn't say tweet out this time. I said blast out, because you can blast them through whatever, media you want. Okay. So let's say, some people start using hashtag Chizzy, CHSI. Others use hashtag CHIZZY, because that's more natural to them. Google changed the name of Google, so why can't we change the name of Chizzy? And in fact, but we encourage people to use whatever hashtag you want, right? But blast it out using hashtags so that other people can find you, and so they can say, aha, these people are having a conversation that they are self-identifying. This is crucial, as a Chizzy conversation. I guess other people could identify their conversation as a Chizzy conversation. If somebody's doing a World Cafe event and we say, hey, that's Chizzy, and we try to reach them and get them to blast their World Cafe meeting as Chizzy, but they don't get it or don't want to talk with it. Okay, fine. We blast it out and say, hey, this conversation these people are having over there, that's Chizzy. That's part of Chizzy, right? So you could kind of think about it as a glorified tattoo, hashtag Chizzy, but we're not tattooing people's skin, thankfully, but tattooing conversations. Because once you blast it out with that hashtag, it's kind of out there in the ether that hashtag is associated with that conversation, right? Now, if that's the big idea, okay, great. What are the killer apps that are going to make it really take off? So here's one that we were cooking on today. Okay. You know how there's like Siri, and you can press your iPhone and say, hey, Siri, tell me this or tell me that. And basically AI, something like Chat GPT or something, gives you an answer and says, hey, okay, great. Now imagine that you ask that there are apps to ask Chizzy something, right? You ask Chizzy. Now, what does it mean to ask Chizzy? Well, let's say that your question can be recorded and transcribed, and both the transcription and the recording of your question, boof, get blasted out into Chizzy under hashtag, let's say Q Chizzy, QCHSI, for example, which means question for Chizzy or query for Chizzy. All right. So you blast it out. Other people may have the same question, right? And now let's suppose there's at this particular moment that this query is blasted out, that there's 100,000 rooms out there, right? And don't tell me you do not know what a room is, because we've covered that ground. Could be a Zoom room, could be a Twitter space, a Clubhouse room, a Gather, Vibe Cafe like space, whatever. Okay. So there's 100,000 rooms out there, and they're all, self-identifying as part of Chizzy, and therefore they've got a little stream, text stream of all the questions being asked of Chizzy. And if there's one they're like, hey, I like that question, that's a great question, get him in here, then they could blast out an invitation. Hey, whoever asked that question, and whoever else is interested in that question, please join us in this room right here, and we'll address it right now on the spot. Right? So suddenly they're in a room with like 8 super cool people who are turned on by their question and think that they can provide an answer or the beginning of an answer, or at least let's have a conversation about it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like from ask some robot to asking Chizzy, which is people, right? And then, of course, one of the uses of AI is to help these questions land in the Zoom rooms or the Twitter spaces or Clubhouse rooms that are most attuned to that question. In other words, who are the best people who could possibly answer that question? And so there's going to be a bit of a match.com between questions and rooms where those questions might be answered. And in fact, if the answer has already been spoken during a meeting 2 weeks ago or 10 weeks ago or 10 seconds ago, then the AI can do that pairing and say, look, this group already answered that question, and they're still in session if you want to check in with them, if you have follow-up questions or whatever. So you see, there's all kinds of cool stuff we could do. But I mean, imagine you ask a question of the universe, and suddenly you're teleported into a room where there are the best people presently online who could possibly answer that question. And it doesn't have to be a room, it can be an individual. I actually came up with this idea when I was at Microsoft, and said, hey, this is how we can overtake Google in search, right? By having actual people answer the questions. Because if it's a question about mufflers, hey, there's 10 muffler shops in Seattle that would trip over themselves to be able to answer your question about mufflers, and hopefully you get your business, right? I mean, duh, right? So, anyway, it could, anyway, I won't go over that because it was just such a huge missed opportunity at Microsoft, among many others, during the famous lost decade at Microsoft, the so-called lost. But anyway, somebody had to be holding the fort while it was happening. But we can actually build those killer apps now. We can have a search engine that's based on collective human intelligence. And if there's somebody, online right now who wants to answer your question, you might say, well, gee, thanks for the invitation. Let me peer in to your meeting. Let me see who's talking, see who these people are who say they can answer my question. What are you guys talking about now? What are you talking about in the last 10 minutes? Right? Anyway, there's so many cool tools that we can do to basically help match people with conversations. And match conversations with conversations using things like Archive Sanity. I should include that link in the emailing that we do. Anyway, I've been talking a lot. What say you, Marco, if you have anything to say?
I really like the idea that we have an interface that would keep track of the conversations and even the key words so that we don't duplicate effort. Even though there's always going to be duplication of effort, just in the thinking, there's the idea that only one person comes up with an idea when sometimes simultaneously people around the world are coming up with the same idea has been proven. But since the urgency is so great right now to prevent and reverse the overheating of the planet, it's time we use these tools in a way that lets us still have our separate groups, decentralized, but makes the all the learning, all the logic, all the lessons, all the information available to all decentralized areas. So that will definitely increase us. The idea that we can do these apps like you're talking about that just hit on a key word and can even identify where it's being discussed right at this minute would be awesome. So moving in the right direction for sure. I so that again that we need to identify and bring in the people that the coders that can make the apps, and the key here is doing it quickly enough that we manage to have the time we need to make all the corrections that everybody's caught on, like carbon this and carbon that. Oh, we need to pull carbon out of the sky. We need to put carbon back in the ground. How do we do that? We don't know. Well, it doesn't matter because we're going to burn up before you figure it out. So we got to do the cooling first. Oh, and you're muted, Jim.
Yeah, exactly. Brute force cooling, SRM, marine cloud brightening, etc. But then, but we need Chizzy to figure out how to get this message to humanity. We've tried and tried and tried and done all kinds of crazy cool things to do it. COP26 being one of the highlights. But bottom line, we need more intelligence than you and I can muster at the moment, and our whole community. We need Chizzy. We need, because once we have Chizzy, you talked about the urgency of planetary overheating. Imagine, look at the following six urgencies that we have to deal with. One is the heat, another is nuclear weapons, another is AI. We've got runaway AI. Another is destruction of the biosphere beyond overheating, mainly because of the way we do agriculture. There's food itself. We're hurtling towards major food insufficiency, starvation. And then finally, number six, runaway economic growth, right? Because that equates to runaway destruction of the planet. That needs to be transformed. We need a deep transformation in economics. Anyway, these are just six, just off the top of my head, existential threats. And how do we tame all six in the next year? The only way is Chizzy, collective human super intelligence. That's the only way I can see. And I mean, other than, God, and I don't mean this facetiously or disrespectfully, God, please step in. Another way is for God to step in and just say, okay, I'm taking control now. Another is for some alien intelligence that's vastly superior to ours to take over. Please take over. Do whatever you have to do, but save our lives. Save us from ourselves, from our own collective stupidity, addiction to money, ego, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, making noise again, Mark. I'm going to mute you. Okay. So we need Chizzy to chisel our way out of this trap that this prison of omnicide that we're in. I don't see any other way other than, again, God or some alien intelligence coming and just direct intervention. I don't think we can pray our way out of this. I don't think we can intend our way out of this. I think we need to get really, 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 really smart, exponentially quickly. And that's Chizzy. So that's the urgency for Chizzy. That's the case for Chizzy, right? And for the reasons I mentioned, nobody wants to go onto somebody else's platform and give them the glory, because there's this whole ego trade-off there that people just don't seem to be willing to make. All right, what if we were to just accept that as a constraint? That leads us to the conclusion of decentralization, so that nobody gets credit for this, right? For the big idea. It just happens. It just emerges spontaneously. So I think one of the ways in which we can spread this in such a way that we get ego out of it is whenever we talk about any idea within Chizzy or Chizzy itself, we don't attribute it to anyone. We don't say, oh, hey, I got this great idea from Marco today and I want to add it to Chizzy. No. We just say, wow, have you heard about Chizzy? Dude, it's this amazing thing. I don't even know where it came from because it's decentralized. So it sort of becomes a mystery. And everyone's like, what? No, I'm being totally serious here. And unmute whenever you want, Marco.
Yeah, the only problem right now with like making it, and I don't even know where it came from, is people are pretty, and rightfully, I think so, in many instances, are afraid of, the AI, and if we have,
Okay. Well, then listen, the story, the story of so there's the story of Chizzy, and then there's, I'll just say, the recruitment mechanism. The story of Chizzy needs to be exactly its collective human super intelligence, and it's emerging, and it's the coolest thing, and it's the funnest thing. And here are some examples of it. And the examples have to be, significantly plural. Don't just say, oh, go to the block party. No. There needs to be like a dozen places people can go, and those are only the ones I've heard about, but there's more and more. And in fact, there's different open source maps that are being created of all the conversations that are Chizzy. Hey, are you Chizzy? Are you part of Chizzy? Right. So it becomes kind of like, but in a way, it sort of becomes like this mystery thing. And kind of like Fight Club. Rule number one of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Rule number one about Chizzy is you don't talk about who invented it. Right? Keep it a secret. Make it be like this mystery. I don't know if you ever read Atlas Shrugged, but those of you who've read Atlas Shrugged or the Cliff Notes or the Wikipedia page or whatever, there's at the beginning of the book and for much of the book, there's just this mystery. Who is this destroyer out there who goes and meets with people and then they disappear? They're gone, right? No evidence of foul play, no evidence of kidnapping or murder or anything like that. But these people just disappear. What's going on? Right? Let it be something like the mystery destroyer of Atlas Shrugged. Something like that, where it's like, wow, have you heard about this? Oh man. And so it becomes this weird meme that, whoa, it's just taking off, but I can't find its center. See, one of the cool things about that is it constitutes an opposite to AI. And who's not afraid of AI these days? Right? People are afraid of AI for damn good reason. Right? Anyway, we're just speculating. And but I hope if you've listened to this recording up until this point, you appreciate that we need Chizzy, and we also need to take ego and credit completely away from it. Let it be like a public commons that, our ancestors a million years ago cooked up, or the gods beamed down to us, or some alien intelligence came to the planet and, catalyzed. And if it's completely decentralized, then no one can own it, no one can control it, no one can take credit for it. And, sure, there'll be myths about it and whatnot. But there's myths about everything. but let it be this freaking mysterious, badass thing. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, everything. If you don't have a creation story, one will develop on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Multiple
And
creation
let
stories
let
develop.
multiple develop on there. Let it be this thing. You wake up one morning and there's, whoa, it's almost kind of like the internet. Where did that come from? Well,
Yeah,
it was a military project.
yeah, I can see how that'll be. The mystery. People are nosy. They want to find out things. They, oh, I hear about that. Eventually, especially the intelligent people will put the effort forth to say, what is this? And once they get drawn in, then you see what it's doing, and then you can't help but love it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's got to have some just crazy growth trajectory like that, where there's like a killer app both for people who want to ask, who want to find stuff out, and people who want to network, right? But then also people who are having cool conversations that want to blast them out there and get them known, right?
Yeah. No, it's the time is. If we're going to do anything, there's no time left but now.
Yeah, I mean, on our block party last Friday, we had Mark McCormick, who's on a hunger strike. He was on our Zoom meeting, right? God bless him. And so people are, but we're finding out about more and more of these groups and individuals, and we're starting to converge. So, but we've got to take it all the way. We've got to go full chizzy as
Yeah.
soon as possible. So I say, anyone who's even tuned into this right now, join the conversations wherever they're happening, right? Because if you just join whatever ones you know about, all these conversations are going to converge. Everything that rises must converge. It has to converge. So everything that's in some way, shape, or form related to Chizzy is going to converge. And and I think the best way is decentralized, fully decentralized. Anyone who wants to be part of the convergence can just do it, right? All you need to know are any of the hashtags will get you there, right? So, and there's no limit to the number of hashtags, but Chizzy is a great place to start. Once you've seen the acronym and put it together in your head, you can't forget it. Chizzy, right? So, anyway,
Yeah, that's the beginning. Then we just yeah, it's just a question of, do we have enough time?
well, time will tell. We just have to go full bore, full Chizzy, and we'll find out. Ask me a year from now, did we make it? All right. The guy on the hunger strike, he says, I'm going to die anyway, like very soon at the rate we're going. So actually going on a hunger strike is arguably a way to maximize his life expectancy. Um, as crazy as that may sound. Um,
Well, we live. The point I see with him doing that is we live in this world where people will rather stand and watch a train wreck than something. I kind of that thought kind of flew right out, but something more positive. It's like we've created a society that lives for you know I can't think of the word. It's excitement, but uh, wow, where did my brain go? Sensationalism. So the hunger strike is like, oh, this guy's gonna starve himself to death. I gotta know what that's about. Whereas if somebody said, oh, this really good book on how to grow food is coming out, people may not get excited about that because right now they have plenty of food. It's raising the awareness to how serious the problem is, and sensationalism does do it. So still hate to see him, really risking his health for this, but again, if we don't bring the right amount of attention to this and get the job done,
Yeah,
a couple of years, it's not going to matter.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Literally, and this is not exaggerating or hyperbole. With in a couple of years, we could see the majority of life on the planet already gone in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so let's everyone sensationalize collective human superintelligence. Call it whatever you want. In fact, part of decentralization is there is no one single name. But find your way in, people. Find your way into this emergent thing, which includes emergent memes, emergent hashtags, emergent names, emergent concepts, emergent killer apps. Find your way in. Because not just your life, but the lives of every family member, friend, anyone you've ever met, and every animal, creature, plant, insect, pollinator, you name it, everything's on the chopping block right now. So find your way in, or we may lose it all.
I think
Find your way in, huh?
Too few people realize that there's a very narrow temperature range that grains and vegetables and fruits where they produce.
Yeah.
Very, very small. And when you're out, the more farther you get out of that range, either hotter or colder, the less food production there is. And how many seasons does anyone think surplus we have?
Yeah.
We've made a supply chain driven world that works on a matter of days rather than any city that gets cut off from their supply chain is out of food in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and Chizzy will make that information available to more people. So yeah.
Yeah,
This is the way to go.
the thing is the best way for the world to wake up to the urgency is Chizzy, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Exactly. So everything
Yeah.
goes through Chizzy. So the single most important thing any of us can do right now is find your way into Chizzy and then start connecting with other people within Chizzy, and help us all work together to figure this all out through Chizzy. But spread the meme of Chizzy. Get into Chizzy. But in a very decentralized way. And this maps to the 22 immutable laws of marketing, where you don't promote a brand, you promote the category. We've got to promote the category of Chizzy. And it's as simple as that. We've got to, it's because it is a whole, it's a category of categories of categories of categories. I mean, there's no end to the expansion of Chizzy and what it will touch and what it will transform. So yeah, it's all hands on Chizzy right now.
And there's something everybody can contribute to. You don't have to be a scientist or an engineer either. You can be the people that spread the word.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And we can go. It's like, if you got Riz, then you should be talking about Chizzy, and you can be the Rizzy for the Chizzy.
What's Riz?
Charisma.
Oh,
This is
Riz. Okay, if you got
the
Riz,
younger generation.
yeah.
Younger generation.
I got it. So be the Rizzy for Chizzy. If you got Riz, use it to pump Chizzy. It's all about Chizzy right now. Chizzy is the magic keyhole on the side of the mountain in Lord of the Rings that will get us to the next level. Period. It's all about Chizzy right now. There's nothing, it's the only game in town, frankly. Chizzy, and then everything that it will figure out. Chizzy's going to figure everything out. It's exponential collective superhuman intelligence. Anyway, and we've had plenty of videos on this YouTube channel that this is posted on that you can learn more about collective human intelligence, collective super intelligence, whatever. But forget all that. It's all about Chizzy. Just get into Chizzy. Find your way in. Find your way in. And see, and then it becomes like a challenge. Ooh, where's Chizzy? Where do I go? Right? And then people will do the obvious. And the more people who are asking about it, and it's like, what? Chizzy.
Yep.
Good stuff.
This has to come together, and it has to be more than, you know, rearranging chairs on the deck of the Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, so on the block party, we're going to talk a lot about Chizzy, and we're going to be working on the story of Chizzy, the spreading of Chizzy, the meme, the mystery. You know, it reminds me of, let me just screen share here. I was living in Monterrey, Mexico in the 90s when there was this new telephone company that was based on wireless that was launching to challenge the big Telmex monopoly. And one morning, all of a sudden, at all these bus stops and all over the busy streets of Monterey, there were these little paper cutouts that had some picture that looked like this. And it was like a question mark. And everyone's like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Right. And then, you know, little by little, someone, you know, you like a billboard or two had that same image on it, and then it spilled the beans and it said, this is what it's all about, you know, tell whatever. And you know, and it started spreading. So I'm just wondering, maybe we do some campaign where we dump all over Seattle, for example, which is the nearest metropolis to where I live. We just spread a bunch of papers that are kind of cool, right? Made on recycled paper, recyclable in turn, but that is like some cool little thing. Maybe it's a cutout or something, or maybe it's, you know, literally with this spelling, you know, Chizzy, right? I don't know, something. But there's got to be creative.
Well,
Huh?
even just simply putting you know, Chizzy out in whatever your platform is, media, just with, I guess you need you just need to generate that and let people start asking, what is it?
Exactly.
And hold back on it for a while until everybody's, you know, it doesn't take long for something like that to become, you know, what people have to know. What is it?
Yeah,
And,
but yeah, so it'll be kind of like a mystery meme,
yeah.
right? From mystery meat to mystery meme, right? What's the it's the what is this Chizzy thing? Yeah, exactly. But part of the meme, you see the little pieces that slip out about the meme are that it's about super intelligence, right? Super intelligence, and that it's human, right? Collective human super. But then it's like, well, how are they going to achieve that?
right? And let that be the mystery for a while, right? Because everyone's afraid of AI. We've got this perfect opposite to AI, which actually subsumes AI, incorporates it. Anyway. Anyway, stuff to noodle on, but let's get together and talk about it on Friday.
Yeah.
Let's get together and talk about it. That's what there is to do.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Yay.
I'm going to pause recording for a minute.
Yeah.